Hi, guys.
Howdy, howdy.
Well, welcome everyone to our Real Austin podcast. We are super excited this week. We've got a guest with us. This is Kathleen, and she's going to be with us from top of show, but she's also our community highlight. So I'm excited to have the opportunity to chat with her and find out what her magic is all about. And but first, we're just going to take a second and check in with each other. That's how we start every. That's how we roll. And David's already well aware of my current status, which is sad mommy, because Kayla left. Kayla went back to New York, and so I'm
yesterday.
Kayla.
Was it yesterday or today?
Oh, I thought you said, what's her name? I was like, you have known me a long time. What do you mean, what's her name?
What's your name?
I don't know if I remember right now. No, she left yesterday, but she or no, was it yesterday or was it, gosh, I'm losing track. I think she left Tuesday. She left Tuesday, got back really late, and then had to work yesterday. So she's having a hard time like readapting, which I mean, I would too. But anyway, so it's just weird and quiet.
You know, Kathleen, you have a daughter as well, right?
But she's I do. Yeah, she's in Austin. Yep. She lives in South Austin. Opposite of where I live.
But I think that's what everybody tells me, that, you know, enjoy my kids right now because later on they're gonna want to be away from you. So I'm trying to milk it the most I can right now, right?
Well,
if possible.
You know, that's like a really good discussion item, something that all three of us have in common, right? So all three of us have daughters. You know, daughters can be wonderful. They can be challenging, at least mine. Although I don't know your daughter, Kathleen, but David, I mean, your firstborn is definitely strong and independent in the best way, which reminds me a lot of my daughter at that age. You know, one of the things my daughter said last night, she said she's like worried that she's grown too attached to us for a 25-year-old. And I think that, I think she's fine. I mean, she lives most of her life in New York City and we're here. So I don't think she's too attached. I think she's fine. But I think it's very interesting to see how differently like that adult relationship with your kids, right? Like, what's your experience, Kathleen?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting because my oldest was certainly challenging in high school. Wonderful years, but challenging, yes. But then after high school, within a couple of years, we were best friends. So it kind of goes up and down.
That's my experience there. Exactly.
Y'all need to give me tips eventually, because I think it's going to be hard. I think it's going to be really hard once they hit those teen years, right?
I will say though, okay, so in our house, teen years weren't as hard on Tom as they were for me. Like, so I think when my daughter was stressed, you know, it was just real easy to throw all that stress and frustration at me. She kept her perfect daddy relationship. That was fine, you know? So you might be okay.
So throw it to the mom.
Throw it to the mom. You stay the same.
Better. Yeah. Stay sacred.
Do the fun stuff.
Okay, cool. Sports, movies, music. Okay.
You're already in, I think, great shape because you already have such a great relationship with your daughters. Like, that's the most important thing. I think, you know, my dad and I are really close, but it was hard. Like, he didn't really know, you know, how to be around a girl. It was hard for us, but we bonded over Star Wars and then beer when I was an adult. So we found our way.
Just one more question. So how is it like when you have to let go? Like, she went to New York. Your daughter, Kathleen, went to, was it Colorado and then came back?
Colorado and Minnesota. And just 2 years ago at the beginning of the pandemic, moved back to Austin, which was fabulous.
I know, I get that. But when you ladies had to let go, I mean, was it just like nerve-wracking? It's kind of like when you first let them the keys of your car and then,
yes,
like, you know, so nervous, right?
I tell you what, it still hurts when I think about it today.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think there's like, for me, there was self-protection mechanisms, right? Like, for the most part, because Kayla went to college in Philadelphia, like so she was in a city. Now she lives in New York City. She's on the subway all the time. She walks alone way more than I would want her to. So when I really start to think about like her safety, I can lose my mind. There was one time when she was in college in Philly that somebody bumped her with a car in a crosswalk, and based on the discussion she had with people afterwards and the authorities, they think that somebody was trying to get her for human trafficking. And that was like the moment I was like, okay, like I can't believe, you think crazy things like that can never happen to you, but it can. But if you worry about it every second of every day, then you can't live your life.
Live your life, exactly.
Anyway, how are you guys? Enough
Way to
about
start
me.
the show. Way to start the show.
Now I'm sad and scared.
We're all fine. Everyone's fine.
Good. I just had I'm sorry, I showed up a minute or two late, but just had to go all the way down to Uland. I have one of the Airbnbs over there, and so they're moving in today.
Oh,
And,
nice.
the traffic was crazy coming all the way over here to this side of the city in Austin, and then all the way down to, if you don't know Uland, you should, because taxes are low over there. It's right next to Kyle, and the drive is not fun, but it's a great investment. It's a great investment property.
One thing that's interesting to tie it into our next topic down, for the later in the episode, is that I'm so ingrained to that, sitting in traffic, feeling that frustration of like just wasting gas, like when gas is crazy expensive and then you're just sitting in traffic, but it's crazy hot. So it's not like you can turn off your air and just deal. But the nice thing about having one of the benefits of an electric car is that it doesn't do anything to the battery unless you're moving. So if you're sitting in traffic, you're not like wasting your battery. You're not losing anything. So that's kind of a cool thing that I had never thought of until I knew someone who actually like owns one. But anyway, so Kathleen, can we talk about you a little bit? I mean, we already know in your life, you guys have some craziness going on for sure. So feel free to share anything about your life you want. But we also have you here as our community highlight.
Main guest.
Yeah. So take it away. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
What's the name of the? Do you have did you start a company, or is it just
Well,
it's the name right now?
It's called COPPERMAIDENAUSTIN, and it's a little play on words. It's Copper Maiden, Austin, Copper Maiden Austin.
Oh, I love that.
Because I started, and I still do, of course, but I use copper in my work. So Copper Maiden Austin.
Great.
That's amazing.
That's creative.
Yeah. So what I do, there are mainly two types of mediums that I use. I do copper enamel, which is, and I'm wearing some today. You take a piece of copper, just briefly, a piece of copper, and you put ground glass on it. And I use a torch. You can also use a kiln. And I heat it up, and the glass melts and fuses to the copper. And it looks kind of like porcelain or ceramic or something like that. It can be real pretty. And then a lot of times like these, I will wrap them with sterling silver, give it some extra shine and things like that. So I do that. And then I also work with fine Austrian crystals. You can see behind me maybe. And I make things out of crystals too.
That's pretty cool. When did you get started with in this line of work, Kathleen?
Almost 6 years ago, but I was just doing it part-time. I was in the corporate world, and I left it, and I said I want to do something creative again. So got started with it, and just about a year ago, I started saying this has to be full-time. So
pretty cool.
Yeah, so that's what I'm working toward.
Just curious, that transition, like from the corporate world to what you're doing now, which is obviously something that you love doing, right?
Yes.
You had to have, was it something happened, or either something click, or an experience, a situation? What do you remember what it was that just made you say?
Yes, I mean, I had a bachelor in fine arts, and I had loved different things, doing creative things my whole life, and I just been in the corporate world, and that was you know, for the most part, it was a great experience, but I had just had enough of that, and I said, okay, I want to get back to something that really fulfills me in a different way. And so I just said, all right, I'm done with that. Here we go. So it's a little scary. It was a scary thing to do for sure, but I had a little money in the bank and I said, all right, let's do this.
It's now or never.
Now or never. Yeah.
And I mean, 6 years you said, right?
Mm-hmm.
How's the timeline been so far? Like you started, I guess, were you doing this, you started kind of part-time or when
Just
you made it?
part-time. Yeah, I was doing side gigs and just kind of getting my feet wet because you know, it's kind of hard to jump in with this kind of business and start making money right away.
Did somebody teach you the like how to do this, or was it just yourself getting creative?
No, I mean, it's always that, of course, but thank goodness for the internet because most of it I learned on YouTube and looking at people's websites, doing tutorials, and just figured it out. So had some trial and error, but it was a lot of fun
Always.
doing it.
That's
Always,
the
right?
best way of learning.
That's right.
It is doing. I definitely agree with that. So where can somebody find your products? Do you have a website or do you have it in stores anywhere?
I do. I do. I have a few things out at the Oasis. I need to go stock at the gift shop at the Oasis. But I have a website that's COPPERMAIDENAUSTIN.com. And then I also have a Facebook page that has a shop and an Instagram site that has a shop. So you can buy directly from those. It takes you to the website and you can buy from there. The website is new, so there's not a lot of stuff there, but it's going.
Slowly but surely.
It's in the beginning, yeah.
Well, it's that same thing. You learn by doing, right? You just got to get the website going and then
That's right.
Figure it out
One step at a time.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious. I have a quick question on the products that you made. Is there anything that could be like engraved afterwards or not really? There's no space.
Not on glass. I mean on copper, on bare copper you can. And then surrounding pieces, for instance. I mean, you couldn't engrave on this, but you can add different materials to it. Like this is a bolo tie.
Okay.
And it's on a piece of leather. And so you could put something else behind it and engrave on that if you wanted to put something with the enamel.
Yeah, definitely will have to jump into your website because Mother's Day is.
I was going to say, it's Mother's Day on Sunday, David.
Yeah. And I was thinking maybe even to engrave something would be pretty cool. But I don't know if you have the opportunity or not, depending, I guess, on what kind of space you have in there, right?
Yes, and I have a small engraver, but I do not really have the skill down yet. So
no worries.
It takes a lot of work to engrave, to do it well, make it smooth.
Yeah.
Not a gift I have. Not a gift.
Not yet.
Well, my youngest, my 17-year-old son, he creates suits of armor and both sci-fi and sort of medieval out of foam and cardboard and plastic that he melts with heat guns. So he's in a medium kind of like that where it's creative with your hands, very artistic. And I'm just very fascinated by it. I have so much respect for it because I think I'm an appreciator of it. Like I do love it and I 100% appreciate what goes into making it, but it's not my gifting in this life. I think we all have our things and that's not mine, but I sure am happy to enjoy somebody else's. So I'll definitely check it out. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Thank you.
Really
I appreciate it.
Definitely look into the website and see what kind of products you have. See if we can help local business because that's what we're looking to do over here. And
right? Like y'all are helping us. You're fabulous. So it's a
you
give
guys,
and take.
you guys ready for that, by the way?
What's that?
You guys ready for that? For what's coming?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
You are. It looked great the last time I was there. So.
And I have a question. Do you have Dave help you out? Does he help out? Is he able to?
He works really hard, but he does what he can. Absolutely.
I can see him like that, like that movie Ghost, you know. I don't No, just helping you mold the craftsmanship, the craftsmanship that goes in there.
Woo!
Hey, it got hot in here. Got hot in here. Definitely, thank you so much for taking the time. I really, really appreciate it, and look forward to seeing what happens with your business. Hopefully, it will pick up.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll talk to you soon, Kathleen.
All right. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Well, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That was different, actually.
I'm so excited. Well, first of all, I'm so excited that I can actually like go to the Oasis and check out her stuff.
I know.
So that I love when I can, go right to a store. So that I'm excited about that. And then just to check out the website. Yeah. COPPERMAIDENAUSTIN. Yeah, that's so exciting. All right. So this week's topic is on the wide new world of electric cars. And so I chatted with my husband for about 10 minutes. So I'll throw that video in at some point because we became electric car owners back in December. But yeah, thoughts. What do you think? Oh, I just realized that I don't have my notes in front of me, but that's okay because I think I remember everything. So it's been that kind of a day.
It's interesting. I mean, I think it's the way of the future for sure. Especially right now, everybody's at least contemplating it looking into probably getting an electric car. Yesterday or 2 days ago, we just filled up our SUV. It's $128, full tank. Breaking records.
Yowza. Well, I mean, I think that it's very interesting because my brother is, he's worked in sort of the car industry in various forms, various positions for a long time. And we're going to chat some more tonight, I think. He wasn't comfortable being on camera, but I've heard, both sides of things.
I was once there, by the way.
Not comfortable being on camera. Look at you now. But yeah, so I remember, initially, like, people were definitely worried that you couldn't get the power you needed out of an electric engine, that, the batteries weren't strong enough. And obviously there were issues with, concerns about range. There's things, we could talk about that because there's a whole, I've gone through several like pros and cons lists, but the big thing that I have seen change in the last decade is that, the power in an electric vehicle. Tom, Tom, it's very funny because he'll get big trucks that will like come up next to him when he's in his little i3 and like want to race them.
No.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah, because they think it's just a dinky little electric car, but Tom can outrun them every time. It's the pickup speed, because it's a BMW, and
maybe that's why they want to race them, because they see the brand. And
maybe I mean, it's obvious that that's a different kind of car.
But is it electric versus electric, or kind of like a muscle car? He just pulls up to Tom in his electric BMW and.
Well, usually, so it's happened 2 or 3 times when I've been in the car, and it's usually just been like a big F-150 or something, Gotcha. Now, it is funny though, because like I drive a Mini Cooper, and same thing happens to me, but with Mustangs. I'll be sitting at a traffic light, and if I'm at front, like first at the light, on many occasions, I've had a Mustang pull up next to me and like vroom, 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 and I look over and they're always like, like,
Don't
let's
give people
go.
with Mustangs a bad name.
Hey, I love a good Mustang, but it's very funny because, you know, I think the Mini Cooper, it is a race car. That's how it got started. But yeah, it's very entertaining. It's very funny. But I think that's the big change that we've seen more recently is that any concerns about not having the power are just, they're unfounded at this point. Especially because Ford, they went through a whole process where it was all about making sure that their electric F-150 was better. It had to be better than the gasoline version to make anyone even consider changing, right? Because people are really attached to their trucks, and so they did it. So that's been really fascinating to see some of those. There are different, you can see on YouTube, there are different tests of it. But really, a lot of the pros and cons are things that I didn't know about. And when I chatted with Tom, I'll put that in here shortly, were things that we talked about in our little time together, talking about electric cars. You know that it's supposed to be, obviously you save on gas, you don't have gas. And because you don't have a gas engine, there's a lot of parts that you're also not having to deal with. So in terms of maintenance on the vehicle, the electric car is much more cost effective.
Well, time.
Yes.
So here's my issue with that. Wouldn't it be the opposite if in the event that you need maintenance? Not a lot of, I mean, not everybody, but most dealerships are transitioning right from the mechanics knowing, being knowledgeable about gas engines, and now moving to the electric cars, which I imagine that it will be more expensive to fix an electric car versus gas car.
I think this is what I think. I think if you did a side by side, you took 5 years of maintenance on, you're looking at the same age vehicle, right? 5 years of maintenance on a gas vehicle versus 5 years with, like, maybe at the end of that 5 years, a big expense like having to replace the battery or something. I am willing to bet that if you added up how much it costs to charge it, so how much in your electricity bill or you pay to actually charge it, plus the new battery, plus potentially a little bit more, potentially, if it's harder to find somebody that knows how to service it, I still think it would be less than what you're paying in gas and maintenance over that same time period in a gas vehicle. Because there's even things like this I didn't know before we owned one, but in a gasoline vehicle, the reason why you get that coasting is because of the way the vehicle is designed, right? So that's why when you take your foot off the brake, you still go, right? Which is why you need brakes to stop. It's not just inertia, it also has to do with the engine. In an electric vehicle, that's not the case. The moment you take your foot off the gas, you're basically stopping. There's not the coasting time. So Tom specifically has retaught himself. He rarely needs to use the brake in the car.
So because if your foot off the gas and it stops,
not immediately, but it's got a very fast time. So he knows now that if he stops in enough time, he's not going to need to use the brake at all. Well, guess what? Then you're not replacing brake pads hardly ever because you're barely using your brakes. The only thing he sees people go through more quickly are tires, usually in the early stage of owning an electric vehicle, because in the early stage, you don't realize how much power there is in accelerating in an electric car. People think less power. They think electric, less power. And so they end up over accelerating in the beginning, not realizing the power in the car. And so their wheels, they can wear out their wheels in the beginning.
I seen that Tesla electric car. I forget the model number, but I don't know if it's out in production already, but I mean, it reaches 0 to 60 like in 2-3 seconds. It's ridiculous.
Crazy. It has been very funny to experience it because, I mean, our little story is that Tom has been fascinated. I mean, he's been very eco-conscious. Before it was cool to be eco-conscious, he's just always been kind of interested in that. And so he's been reading on electric cars since they first were created. And I think, as two teachers, we definitely didn't think we would ever be able to afford one anytime soon. But when I started hearing that interest rates were going to go up, I suggested, around Christmas time, like maybe we should just see what's out there, because Liam's about to start driving, and I would rather, if we're gonna need a car loan, like I would rather get in before interest rates go crazy. So he had over the years fallen in love with this one specific vehicle, which is the Bmw i3. And it's not a long range one. Range is definitely an issue in this one, but he has it so carefully planned. It's plenty for him to get to UT and back. If he needs to charge somewhere, he knows where the chargers are. I mean, we're not going to take long family trips in it, but as a commuter vehicle, it has been amazing. And we got it for a steal, an absolute steal.
Where did you guys end up purchasing?
Huh?
Where did you guys ended up purchasing the car?
Good question. I have no idea. I wasn't with them.
Was it somebody from Craigslist? Like
no, it was a dealer. It was a dealer.
It was a dealership.
It was a dealership. Yes. But
it was somebody from Craigslist or Facebook.
No. It was a dealership, but we got a great deal on it. And I mean, Tom, he's like a fanboy when he talks about his car. He loves this car more than probably fits our dog. Yeah, I mean, he just is a huge fan. But so the first time I got in it to like ride, I was so caught off guard by the lack of the engine sound. So all of a sudden we were moving and it was silent.
Yeah.
And so that was the first thing. And it still gets me every time. I get into the car and I wait to hear the turnover, but all of a sudden we're moving.
Just moving. Yeah.
Just moving. So there's that. And then the other thing is it literally feels like it doesn't sound like it, but it feels like you're in a jet engine taking off. Like, he gets on the sorry, it's my child. We get on the highway, and I mean, it just feels like you're
in a plane.
It feels like a rocket, but in a good way. So I love it. He loves it. It's been really good for our family.
In terms of, I guess he just gets home and plugs it into the wall.
He does. Now we're in the process. We've had it since December, just plugging it into the wall.
Okay.
But I'm going to get him one of the special chargers installed. It's not that bad, really. No, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But I know.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah, just so it's a little bit faster for him. Because basically he plugs it in, and then it charges while he's sleeping, and then it's ready the next morning. But
that's cool. Yeah, I heard one of the issues, because if you're going to talk about the pros, you have to talk about the cons as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I heard the issue is like you said, is range. That's one of them.
Yep.
If you're planning a trip like from here to California, you need to stop in several different places to be able to recharge. And then on top of that, there's like a regular price that you pay for a charge. But then if you want to supercharge, you have to pay extra dope. And not only that, is the part I think that will get me if I were to make one of those trips on an electric car, like from here to Cali, would be the part that how long are you sitting for on those chargers? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, there are speed ones and there are there's speed ones and there are slower ones. I think, to me, there's going to be a threshold point where, because of government incentives and everything, eventually there's going to be more charging stations everywhere, to the point where the only scary parts will be trips through mountains and deserts. You know what I mean? That everywhere else you'll be able to pretty easily find a charging station and charge quickly. You know, and Tom's has like what's called a little little Rex engine, which is like a range extender, and it's just a tiny little thing that has just enough gas in it for basically emergencies, that keeps it doesn't charge the electric engine, but it allows you to get to a charging station. So that's
that's important, and that's the next point that I was heading over, that I was going to say, that you can't go wrong by having both options, right? You use the electric, but if you have the gas part, just to use it for emergencies, because you never know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that definitely gives us peace of mind. Tom has only really used it once or twice since December, because he's just really careful about planning. Because hybrids are like a whole nother thing. You know, I have friends with hybrids. Hybrids can be more costly to repair because they've got both. They've got the gas engine, but they've got, you know, the electric. It's a whole nother thing. It's just, you know, I think the range is the biggest thing. You'll hear in Tom's interview that I did that we don't really know. I mean, they estimate the batteries are good for about 10 years, but the vehicles are so new that nobody really knows yet. So there's just going to be a steep learning curve, you know?
You think, like, not changing the topic completely, but you think it'll be an issue if we start going more in terms of electric, in regards to how they're created, especially the batteries for the ecosystem? And
yeah, so I tried to do some research on that, and I wasn't finding much, which could be just because you can't find it in a Google search doesn't mean that it's not out there. Sometimes people don't want you seeing certain things, you know. So it's possible that there's environmental impact just creating the batteries. I mean, that's definitely possible. And then, you know, it's the whole thing of like, what's going to happen to all the gas cars? Like, what are we going to do with them? You know, interesting thing about the i3 is it's like all recycled materials. So it's pretty cool in that regard. But I mean, there's no clear-cut answer, right? There's just not. There's no easy. Change is hard. I think that's the moral of the story.
it is.
Change is hard.
But change is good as well.
The other thing I'm going to say now, I have zero information on, zero hard, cold. That was what I was trying to say, hard, cold facts. But in fairness, because you can tell I'm pretty pro electric car, in fairness, I'm going to put it out there. I did have a friend who believed that basically the magnetic fields generated by an electric vehicle are unhealthy for the body. So,
oh wow, another thing to look into.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, just in all fairness, I have no idea what truth there is to that, but I mean, it's not great to be sitting around gasoline either, you know. That's not great for your body either. So, but that was something that was brought up.
They sometimes explode.
Sometimes they catch. Hey, did I ever tell you the story about my car catching on fire when I was in high school?
Please go ahead.
So my parents were out of town. I worked at the mall. It was the holidays, and my car wouldn't turn off. Like I would turn it off, and it for a little while it was just doing this thing where it would kind of go grung, 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 and then go and finally shut off.
Uh-huh.
So I got to my job. I'm sitting in the parking lot of the mall.
Wait. Was it for, and then the brr, brr, brr.
No, it would. it would roll, 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 and then peter out. You're making fun of me. I can tell. I don't care.
No,
Anyway,
I felt like I was there. Which
you were
is
there with me. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a teenager at my job, and I turn off my car, I pull out the key, and it just keeps doing that thing where it's like, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, I'm about to be late to work. I cannot sit in this car. So not very smart me thinks, well, it's going to turn off eventually. Like, it's got to stop eventually. So I went into work, and shortly thereafter, there were sirens and fire trucks and all these announcements over the mall intercom.
Wow.
And they say, you know, we're trying to find the owner of a white Oldsmobile. And I just went white, and I turned to my manager and I said, I have a white Oldsmobile. And she's like, okay, I'll calm down. I'm sure it's not your car. I'll calm down. And so she comes back and she says, it's not yours. It has a red top. And I was like, that's my car. And so she like put a jacket around my shoulders and kind of walked me out to the door where everything was going down. And my car was fully in flames, and they were trying to, the fire department was trying to put it out. The really terrifying part, aside from the fact that like my parents were out of town, so that was a whole nother level, was that it was the holidays. You know how mall parking lots are in the holidays. Like, it could have exploded. It could have caught the cars next to it on fire. Like, the fact that somebody saw some flames and called somebody fast saved lives. So the part that really was devastating was just, I felt so foolish. I just felt stupid. Like, I risked people's lives by being a teenager that didn't know any better. I thought it was more important to be on time for my job.
Yeah, it's crazy how things worked out. When we all have stories like that, but
It was the catalytic converter, by the way.
that who tell you the cop with like the next to the burned car? It's like, it was this.
No, it was like when we went to the junkyard to try and see if there was anything left in the car. That was terrifying. That was absolutely terrifying. But needless to say,
It's a learning experience.
it was. It was. All right.
Still kept
So-
the job, just out of curiosity.
Did I what?
You still kept the job.
I did keep the job. I think they were happy that I risked people's lives to get there on time during the
That time
holidays.
to be able to serve the people that.
Yes. State your name and business.
The Thomas Burritt,
Oof.
electric car owner.
That's the important part. What else do you do?
I didn't know. Okay. I am a professor at the University of Texas. That's what I do for my life in music. I'm teaching in the percussion program, the Butler School of Music, and this is my 20th year of teaching, and I play with various chamber music groups in the city, and also travel as a soloist, mostly playing marimba.
For the purpose of this discussion, why don't you tell our friends here where you live, so what your commute is like to UT?
So my commute, I live 24.8 miles from my workplace in Austin, in Leander, Texas. I know this because I follow my mileage very carefully, as maybe we'll get to that later. So I don't have to often travel during the worst time of the day, but a couple times a week I'm in the middle of really bad traffic, but most of the time I try to avoid it.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your electric car journey.
So I have been wanting an electric car for, I don't know, many years now, at least 5 or 6 years. And obviously they're just very expensive. And because I'm a percussionist and drummer, I need a big car because I need to move stuff around. And so recently, and that made it difficult to commute every day with a big car, especially now with how high gas prices are. So we have one more child who's about to take his driver's tests. And I always wished...
Allegedly.
And I always wish I had a small car that I could just be much more fuel efficient with, and be less expensive to run. And knowing that he would eventually need a car, to drive around with, we decided that maybe now is a good time to get a small commuter. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get a small commuter now, and he can use my big Jeep, then I'm going to look into electric cars because maybe they're less expensive now. And so I started looking around, and they're not very, they're still very expensive. But I did kind of fall in love with this very specific model, the Bmw i3, which the first model was way back in 2014, which is, think about it, a long time ago. But the car's design, if you're familiar with them, is still really sort of modern, and it looks like it could be built today, even though it was built 7-8 years ago. And as I was looking into that, the pricing on those was actually affordable, under 20 grand in most cases for the 14, 15 year models. And I thought, oh, maybe that's an option. And the big problem with those cars really is just the range, right? Because it was early days for electric cars. So in 2014, 2015, the top range of that car was about 80 miles. And that's not a lot of miles, but it's just enough, or actually a little bit more, to get back and forth to UT from here. So I thought, well, maybe that's a possibility. And so I researched it for about a year and really sort of thought it might be a really good way to go. And so last December, I just happened to find one at Charles Mond that was in beautiful.
After your very wise wife said,
Yes.
hey, I think interest rates are
Yes.
about to go up, so maybe we should
Yeah.
look sooner than we thought.
And that was actually before gas even spiked really bad, right? So we were really lucky that way. So anyway, I found exactly the one I was looking for. It's what they call a super hybrid, meaning that it has a small moped engine. And this sounds a little janky especially for a BMW, but it has a small moped engine that's only job is to replenish the bigger battery of the car once it gets to a certain low point. So it doesn't actually charge the battery, it just maintains charge so you can actually get to wherever you're going. That's why they call it the range extender. In our circles known as the Rex. And so I thought, okay, the range isn't great, but that little Rex motor is a nice insurance that if I get in trouble with range, then that could get me there. And I just have to keep putting a little gas in the moped engine. I can get almost anywhere I need to. So I thought, what the hell, let's do it. So I've had the car for, 4 or 5 months now. I love it. I'm not paying gas at all. It has plenty of range.
I feel like if you could just speak to, because I feel like you've gotten so good at just planning your trips ahead. So you know if you're going to need to charge, you know where the fast stations are. And
yeah, I haven't had to really charge it out, but sometimes I do just because I can, just to make it a little less range anxiety. But no, I think, if you, the nice thing about it is you're right. If you pull into the garage at the end of the day with only 10 miles, it's only 10 miles, but at the same time, you're going to plug the car in overnight and it'll be ready for you in the morning. So because you can literally charge it whenever you're not using it. And if I had a charger at work, like some people do, then it's no problem at all. You think of the actual time you're driving versus it's sitting, it's just charging. Obviously it's sitting a lot more than driving, so it can be charging during that time.
okay, a few more questions. One being, I definitely read that in general, electric vehicles are better on brakes, and based on some things you've told me about the driving difference, I can understand why. So can you say something about that?
Yeah, I think, what I didn't expect to really enjoy about it so much, it's a super fun car. It goes really fast.
Feels like you're riding in a jet,
yeah,
honestly.
it is super, super, sporty, and it just responds like that because it's just what electric cars do. So much so that it runs through tires if you're not careful, super fast because there's so much torque on them. But actually what I really love about the car, and this is mostly because I've just had to really learn how to extend the range as best possible, is the regenerative braking. It doesn't completely make conventional brakes useless, but you almost never use them if you're careful enough, meaning that if you anticipate a stop long enough, the regenerative braking, which is what the car does to regenerate the power in the battery, which gives you a longer range, actually slows you down without having to use the brakes. And while it's doing that, it's also, obviously pumping new energy into the battery, making you go further. So it's been fun to just get really super geeky about the cars. Really gives you all kinds of information about how you're driving. So, obviously quick stops and quick starts are not good for efficiency, but both, gentle starts and gentle braking, or not using the brakes hardly ever at all, is what's going to extend that battery.
Because the car, you got to say the car slows down on its own. That's the big thing.
Yeah, it just
The
sort
car-
of, if you're not pushing on the accelerator,
There's not
then
coasting.
it's just
like
slowing
with the gas.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really cool. And you know what? I think I'm so convinced that you just have to rethink what driving means and is. But once you do that, I think, if everybody had a car like that, and we all were that more concerned about extending range of our batteries in our cars, then we probably wouldn't have as many traffic jams, maybe at all, because you're not accelerating as fast, you're not braking as fast.
Or accidents, in theory.
Exactly, because it really makes you an insanely careful driver if you do those things. And the more careful you are, the more rewarded you are with the amount of range you get.
Yeah.
So it's and you don't burn through your tires so fast.
Right. Okay, next question. So I did also read that average life expectancy on a battery is only like 10 years. And so given how old yours is, does that make you nervous? Have you heard of the i3s going longer? I've heard it's kind of thousands of dollars.
I don't think
replace a
anybody
battery.
really knows the answer to that question, actually, because electric cars just haven't been around
They're
that long.
too new. Yeah.
But I have been testing the battery. There's not an easy way to test the battery loss over the years. There is a secret menu in the car. If you do all kinds of research online, you can find it pretty easily. You can get a sense of how fast your battery's degrading. Everything I've found, even the warranty is good for 8 years on the battery, but even past that, there isn't a history, at least on the i3 that I've seen, where there's lots of battery replacing going on in warranty, and there are still lots of 2014s that are out there rolling around. So I don't think I'm too worried about it, honestly. The range will get less and less over a long period of time, but I don't think we just don't know how long until enough 25, 30 years goes by. I don't think we really know.
Okay, so last question, because I know you're busy and gotta get going, is tell me a little bit about the materials the car is actually made of, because I know it's from an eco standpoint.
Yeah, we haven't talked too much about the eco part of it, but not only obviously am I not burning gasoline while I'm driving it, the car is made from carbon fiber, I believe is what it is. The frame, so it's much sturdier and lighter. Other parts of the car are built with plastic bottles, recycled plastic bottles. Actually, I think BMW actually built an entire plant separate from their other stuff to build this car. And even that plant was built with as much eco-friendly stuff in mind. So, there are other parts of the car, I think, that there's some eucalyptus. The wood grain is built from a specifically sustainably forest eucalyptus, I think it is. So it's definitely not just helping the global warming by driving it, but the way that they actually built it from the ground up, they really thought of that as well.
Well, thanks so much for giving us 10 minutes of your time today to tell us about your experience with electric car.
Yeah.
As your wife, I'm actually a huge fan. I haven't really driven it much yet because I'm more riding along. It's hard to get me out of my Mini Cooper, but I would definitely be interested in the new Mini Electric for sure with the next vehicle.
Yeah, now we're seeing cars that are coming out with, 300-400
miles
of range, and it's not as much difference. They're still very expensive, and so I'm hoping that those come down. And every company is committing to it. When Ford committed to the Ford 150, the truck, the electric version of that, there's no turning back once their cash cow is, built that way.
Yeah.
So, I just hope, what's the one last thing I'd like to say is the trend I think that I see right now that I don't love so much is that it just looks like a gas car. It's just as big, that's not a bad thing. It's just, what I love about the i3 is that it just looks like a totally different, it just sort of rethinks the whole driving experience. And
I definitely would agree with that. It was used in the Westworld TV series, which is supposed to be set in the future, and that makes total sense.
Right.
Insert Phasma pictures here, but yeah, it's a cool car and just really great to ride in and roomy.
Yeah, it looks really small, but it actually has a lot of room in it because there's just not, the battery sort of runs across the bottom of the car, and you don't have to have much engine room in the front and all of that. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. You're cute. All right, have a great day.
You too.
All right.
That's a cool show.
So what are we talking about next time?
Oh, dropping it just like that. This one's expensive.
Be careful. Be careful. Yeah.
Feminism.
Feminism. Look out.
I think that's going to be our next topic.
It's a big one. It's a hot topic right now for sure. So
Extremely hot.
I'm
Go
here
either way.
for it.
Which one are you? Are you A or B? We'll figure it out next time.
You'll find out next time.
All right, then. We'll catch you later. Y'all take care.
Don't hit like and subscribe. Join our Facebook group.
That is true.
Someday I'll remember that. Okay. Bye.